Hi, everybody. It's Heather, the Leadership Heart podcast. And today I'm really thrilled to have Dr. Jahan on. She will be my first dentist I've ever interviewed. So this is so cool. I'm like, what? Interestingly enough, well, I'll give you some background on that because she won't even know this when I tell her. But the reason why I brought her on, I saw this whole description. Most people come to me by referral or I've handpicked them. And occasionally someone will reach out or someone will reach out on behalf of the person, the guest, to say, oh, would you like to have her on? And I saw that she really likes to, take into consideration the whole patient, that she's asking, that she's listening. And you all know how I feel about listening. It's the thing I lead with. So I really, really loved that about her. And the whole person leadership is another thing that really, had me focus and think, well, I want to have her on the show. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Hey, like this is a conversation. I love it. So where are you right now in your leadership journey? Let's give a little bit more background on that.
Well, my business opened January of 2020. So we're a year and a half in this startup. And so that's where I am, just learning and growing and trying to do my best with the business and my team.
Oh my gosh. So you started a dental practice right before a pandemic. So, what kind of learning curve was that?
Oh boy. Well, we opened, and then 2 months later we had to shut down and I had to furlough all my team members. So that was a little of a challenge for me as a new business owner. It just made me really resilient and also made me appreciate what I did have in life. I think it really did make me a better a leader moving forward after we did reopen.
And that's a good place. I know we talked before we started, you talked about that, like you're a new leader, like you hadn't managed teams. And so now as leading the dental practice, now you've got staff there, you got team members there. And so I don't know, how is that feeling being kind of now a new manager?
It feels great because when I first graduated dental school, I worked for 7 different practices within a span of 2 years. So I was bouncing around from one practice consistently because I could not tolerate the toxic work environments. And I realized that, wow, there are a lot of things that we need to improve on. Well, not just with leadership, but just within the dental field, and things that I would love to change and things that maybe I would like to keep when I one day am a business leader. So after I decided to kind of part ways and take a more of a self-employment route, is when I thought about all the things that I learned and all the things that I wanted to change in the business of dentistry. And so when I started Brio, that's when I decided to put them into action.
Wow, that's all. I love that. I mean, that's kind of how we do this. I talk about it in the book. It's like we learn from the good leaders, we learn from the bad leaders and the bad cultures and things like that. And hopefully we don't emulate the ones that aren't so great. And that's good. That's a lot of good learning. That's already starting off learning so much. So, so the one thing I wanted to tell you that was kind of funny, I probably about, I guess it's been about four weeks ago, I traveled to Atlanta to speak to the Scheduling Institute and all of their folks. I don't know if you've ever heard of Scheduling Institute. And if you haven't, they do a lot of leadership development, training development for dental practices. That's their whole focus is only dentist practices around the world, I think it's just around the country. It might be around the world too, actually. So I went to speak to them and it was a whole group of dentists. And then they loved it so much that they're having me back. And I'm going to Phoenix now in November to speak to another set of dentists. They're not actually what it is. It's not the dentists only. So they have they have the dentists, they have forums for dentists, and then they have forums for practice managers and like other staff that kind of play almost like an HR role. So I was speaking to the people who were like the practice managers and the HR people, but then they were doing like the following week one that were just for the practitioners themselves. And so I thought that was kind of cool. So just so you know, there's a support system out there, literally just for dentists. It's called the Scheduling Institute.
The Scheduling Noted.
I know. Isn't that interesting? It's like, so I just thought, well, wow, now I have a dentist on here. Like this must be, I don't know. So I am curious to know what the people, now it's been, I don't know, well, maybe not quite a year that they've been with you, like, straight through as a manager. What might they say about you and your leadership style?
I think they would probably say personable, fair. I don't like to micromanage, so I give them a lot of autonomy and freedom to explore how to do different things. And sometimes it works and sometimes it fails. And then we shift gears after that. So I think that's how they would describe me. I am the type of leader, you could say, that forms a strong attachment or bond with my team. They become like family. I'm not sure if that is a good thing or a negative thing. I don't know, but that's just my style. And I form very close familial bonds with them. And I think that does play into how loyal my team members are to, well, myself and the business in general. And they feel like they are a part of this business, and they feel responsible for it in a lot of ways. They have the sense of ownership, and I can see that in them because they take charge, and they want to change things and improve things and do better for the business. So that tells me that, hey, whatever we're doing here is kind of working.
Exactly. And you really are, just a super strong path. I mean, you're right. When we think of employee loyalty, it really is the connection and the bonds and the trust that you establish with them. And even when they do that thing where it goes, it doesn't go as planned, where they take a risk and it doesn't go as planned. If you have to go to them and say, okay, let's think through why this went wrong, what you could have done better. Like, they're not so super hurt. They might even take it personally because they know you have their best interest at heart at all times. It just, people always say, well, how can I get to the point where I tell them this? And what if I need to tell them that they're not doing this right? Well, I always say to them, if you did the right things up front, if you built the trust up front and that foundation of loyalty was there, when you have to help them course correct, it is not it's just part of your relationship. And they don't really see it any differently. They may be harder on themselves because they care for you and they don't want to let you down. But in the end, it's not like, oh, well, she just, I want to go leave her. It's not that way. It just isn't that way. So I have that same type of style that you have too. Which I think if we take that to extreme, if we take that too far to extreme and we just care so much and we are leaning in so much that we get too into their personal, like it gets really, really loud, then it is harder for us to remain impartial when we do need to help them self-correct. So there are some things we have to look at, but yeah, I think in overarchingly, I think the type of leader you are is the one that keeps people bonded to you longer.
And knowing myself, I know that I have the potential to maybe take it too far and get myself too involved.
Yes.
But the good news is I have an office manager that helps alleviate that a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, so I do delegate a lot of those aspects of leadership to her. I trust her 100%, and she gets the job done. So I'm able to create that barriers to prevent me from taking it too far.
Oh, I love that so much. You're so smart. Holy moly. People are going to listen to this episode and be like, wow, I need to learn a little bit from her. And this is your first time managing people, and you already got it right. And you already know you're doing the delegation. You're staying where you shine, and you're giving away the rest, which I think is awesome. You keep a close contact with those people so that you also know what's happening in that part of the business. It's not so far away. I was saying when I was speaking to the practice managers that day, that was like, boy, I really would like to be sharing these caring leadership concepts with the dentist, because I think if more dentists also did do like leading the whole person and keeping, listening to them and having more of that great bedside manner. You don't always get that with any kind of medical practitioner, right? But having that, then how much better would everything be if we felt that way? Because there is one thing I didn't know. I knew this of veterinary practices, but I did not know dental practice, that dentists or people in dental practice, there's like a high suicide rate. I had no clue about that. Had you heard about that? I'm like, why is that? I can see from the veterinary side because, right, it's the dogs, and if they're dying, there's a lot of death, and like, that's hard. But I don't know why. I just don't understand the dental side of it.
I have a theory about that because I didn't understand it either. But I think there are a couple aspects that play into that. Some people call it a myth, some people call it reality. I don't know. But I think traditionally dentists are hated. Nobody likes to go to the dentist because, the traditional dental industry used to sometimes, cause a lot of pain or discomfort or anxiety for people. And so it isn't a professional that is liked by the general public. And that is one of the main reasons why I wanted to go into the dental field, is because I wanted to change that. Apart from made me fall in love with dentistry, but I wanted to change that mentality of people having that resistance to going to the dentist. So I think that may be one, because they feel unloved by their patients. Possibly.
Yes.
There are some other aspects that I think possibly play into it. Traditional dentistry deals a lot with pain medication and pain management. Possibly easy access to drugs. I don't know.
Yes, good point. Yeah, I didn't even think about that part. Well, I think this is critical. I just glad I brought it up, because these are just new things to me. And I think if I can like share some of this knowledge with other people, like, hey, like give your dentist a little love next time you're in there.
Appreciated enough. I think. I'm working hard and not being appreciated for it.
Mm.
Personally, I never feel. My patients are very appreciative of me, and I'm very appreciative of them. I love coming to work. It brings so much fulfillment to me. So, yeah, my career, it brings a lot of joy, and I could never, ever imagine, possibly at all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's just like you give what you get. And if you're a person who, if you're looking at like this, it's a business, it is medicine, but it's a business, and that you have to serve your clients, serve your customers. And that means that I need to show them concern and care and kindness. And then they show it back to me, right?
Absolutely.
It's like a replica. And I think that's what it is. You appreciate them, you show them, you give them value, you show them appreciation, and then they do the same thing to you.
Absolutely.
Duh. It's kind of a novel is it what? Hello, guys. Same thing happens with employees. It's like you can take care of your team members, they take care of you. And if you take care of them enough, they take care of your clients. I mean, wow. Right.
We have a holistic dental practice, which isn't just how we approach a dentistry as a whole, but also with our patients. But also, if we're going to be a holistic practice, that includes being holistic with the way you treat your staff and your team members as well. You have to see them as a whole person, and not just staff members that come and do the job done, take the paycheck home, and it ends there. It's truly a holistic approach to the whole business, including how you employees as well, I think.
Mm. Okay, so this is your management background is a short one, but I'm going to ask you this question because everybody can already hear. I mean, I obviously picked the right person, so you definitely have a high level of emotional intelligence. Your heart is in the right place. You're empowering your people, allowing them to take risks. You're really checking all the boxes. But none of us are perfect, right? We're all on a journey of continuous improvement, and so now is a time where I ask every guest to share a story, share a time where you don't feel like you were the best leader. You weren't maybe the most compassionate. You weren't the one who empowered the most. What did that look like? And then what did you do to come out of it? What was that solution that kind of enlighten you to be better?
Well, I am the type of person that wants to do everything myself and not ask for help. Initially, when I first opened Brio, I felt like I was taking on too much and not delegating enough, which burned me out a lot. So I felt emotionally, mentally, physically drained when I would come to work initially. But over the years, I've learned that delegation is a great thing. And I need to focus on doing good dental work and focusing on my patients, and other things where I have the resources and the right team members to take on. I am more than happy to give them those responsibilities and let them take over those tasks or things, responsibilities of the practice. So I think me knowing myself, I like to take control, do everything myself, don't ask for help. And I feel that I've improved on that by learning how to delegate more.
Can you think of a certain story, let's say in the beginning when you you opened, maybe it was, pre-pandemic, or it was like after and then you reopened? Did you feel, was there any story? Like, can you think of something specific you can share?
Something specific. Oh boy.
Where this like empowerment, control, like not lack of delegation thing came in?
I probably do have some story. I should have reviewed this question more.
That's okay. That's all right. Well, if it pops into your head, when we're talking, we'll just come back to it.
We'll revisit.
No worries.
I have to think about which one maybe.
Well, I love it. Well, so before we have you give us some pearls of wisdom, I want to turn the tables now. And now it's time for you to ask Heather a question about really anything about leadership, ask me something. What do you have for me?
I have so many questions, but I think the first question that pops into my mind is, right now our business is growing, which is a great problem. I'm very grateful for it, very blessed, very fortunate. However, we constantly feel that we are understaffed, and we have a lot of ads out there, job posts looking to recruit more people, and it is very hard right now. There's just the workforce is minuscule currently. A lot of businesses are struggling to find the support that they need for the growth that they're having. Probably because of COVID, people are not comfortable maybe fully going back into the workforce. So, I understand that aspect, but what are your recommendations in possibly creating engagement with people who are out looking for work and inspiring them to come our way and apply? and maybe joining our team. I think apart from just offering more lucrative, position, of course
Yeah.
we pay our staff well. However, I don't want that to be their primary drive. I want them to come to our office because we're more than just a paycheck. So
Yeah. So there's a couple things built into that. One is during the pandemic, people's vision of themselves and where they saw themselves and what they thought was possible changed dramatically. And so they realized they didn't have to be in an office to feel fulfilled. The meaning of work changed. How they got it done changed. So I would say a couple things. And one, I think you're on the right track. That is, you already are kind of a mission-driven practice. This whole holistic treatment, holistic dentistry focus is something you need to really highlight in a big way. So I would recommend doing a lot more storytelling in your recruitment practices, storytelling on ways that you actually did live out that mission, because people are looking for meaning in their work. It is the biggest driver of loyalty. And I think it will be the biggest driver for where people go in the future when they make a decision to go back to work. Is I want to go to a place where I feel like my purpose is fulfilled. I want to go to a place where I feel like it's more than just a job and I'm more than just a number, but that I'm fulfilling some bigger mission. And so people will be called to your mission, and you have one. Like most dental practices do not have them. They don't have that thing that's kind of, ooh, that feels good. That feels good. It's just getting the job done, going in someone's mouth, right? For you, it's different. So I would just say lead with that, and show that they would have more meaning if they came to your practice versus another practice up the street that might even be offering a little bit more, because it's not going to always be about the money. People aren't all motivated. In fact, I bet you that it's not going to be money driven in most cases. It's going to be about, does this meet my new vision for myself? Does this help me find meaning? Do I feel like I'm fulfilling some bigger purpose outside of myself? Right. And do they care for me? Do they care for me? Is it like I said, the family? So highlight the family, highlight the holistic, all of that stuff. And I think that's going to pull more people in, and you won't be competing as much. So you're not going to compete if you say I'm a dental practice. Like that's not going to help you. You're going to compete on the other things that calls people to a higher calling, if that helps you at all.
yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thank you for that, bit of wisdom. I will definitely utilize that and incorporate that into our postings for sure.
Awesome. Okay. So now what are the pearls of wisdom you have? Like, let's turn it back to you. What might be a couple pearls of wisdom that you would give for leaders who either like they need a little extra motivation, or they are struggling to really maybe call on their own personal mission that keeps them motivated, or just something that you think would help them lead more toward showing more care, more heart while they're at work?
Yeah, I think you actually touched on it when you were answering my question, but for myself, I lead with my why. You probably most definitely heard with your why, but what is your purpose? What do you feel like you want to put out into the world? What do you want to change about the industry that you're working in? And for me, that is ultimately my vision. Is my vision for Brio and the dental world is very. Let me find the right word for it. It's very clear in my own mind, and it drives me very, very much in what I do and how I treat my staff, how I run my business. I have a very specific brand, not just for the business itself, but for the mission, like you said. And I think knowing your why and finding that passion within yourself is going to ultimately drive you to be successful in that way. I think that's probably the best way I can say it. I have a few other things that I would add. One would be to don't forget about self-care. Being a business leader, a business owner, you make a lot of sacrifices, and one of them sometimes ends up being your own health. So I think it's important to sometimes just stand back, look at the bigger picture, and know that your business cannot be successful if you yourself, as the leader, are not healthy. If you are struggling to be healthy within yourself, you cannot create a healthy work environment for your team, and also be healthy for, let's say, in my case, my patients. And so I do like to step back every once in a while and look at this picture from an outside perspective. Am I taking care of myself? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I drinking enough water? If I'm going to treat my patients holistically, I have to look at myself in a holistic manner as well. So that's also very important to me as well, to take care of myself and make sure I am strong for my team and my patients and Brio as a whole.
For those who are listening, I think you already know that she's completely speaking my language, and you are, it's like a sister from another mister, and I am like fully connected here. Yeah, you're, oh my gosh, yes. Self-care, I always say that the beginning of the book is all about self-leadership, and it's the first chapter because it's the most important, and everything else flows from that. So you just encapsulated that in your own example. And so for those who are listening, know that you start with self-care, and then you start with your why, which is right inside of the self-leadership chapter. It's all right there. Starting in that place is the place you want to be, because if you don't know your why, you can't help others find theirs. And I just said the best thing to do right now to bring people in and attract people to your team is to help them understand what your why is. And if you don't know it, then of course they want to understand how their why connects to yours. And it's your job as a leader to actually connect the dots for them. So, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
You know, maybe I should mention this. I always like to give credit to where it's due. And my father plays a huge role in everything I do. He actually inspired me to pursue business ownership in the first place, because I would come home and I would cry and complain about, my horrible work day and how my boss was treating his staff, and et cetera, et cetera. And one day he told me, you know what, instead of complaining, why don't you do something about it? And I was like, oh, like, I've never had a business. I don't know anything about business, but he is the one who inspired me, and he keeps me grounded. He always, every time I go to him and complaining about anything work related, he tells me to stop and pause and tells me, go back to the basics. That's his phrase, back to the basics. What are the core foundations of what you're doing? Why are you doing it? And just revisit the basics of your business and your why. And I think that ultimately resets your mind, or puts you in the right mindset, I think.
Back to the basics, guys. The stuff that we talk about here is timeless. And that's the thing to remember. This is not a fad. All of this stuff is about relationships, long term, and how do we keep our people connected to us, bonded to us? How do we grow in our own leadership and care for ourselves? And these are timeless things. I don't care if it's post pandemic. I don't care if it's 20 years from now. I can guarantee you I'll be saying the same thing. Maybe little methods tactically could change, but in the end, it's the same thing. And these examples, this one right here that Dr. Jahan just said, it's a pure example of that. And I love the fact that, remember, we talk about having a personal board of directors or a support system or a coach. And for her dad is the coach. Think about who your support system is. Make sure you put one of those in place so that they can be there to be a barometer for you, to kind of, slightly slap you a little bit, so you're a little bit crazy, and get out of it, and move forward. So I love that. At some point I want to meet him. I just got to have him on here or something, because I love him.
You would be great to be on this show.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. So for those who are listening, who found really good value in me speaking here with Dr. Jahan, just please do share this far and wide, because it's those who, when we do that, we're giving them a gift of, learning, development, transformation, all of that. So definitely share it. Don't forget to go to Apple Podcasts, if that's where you're listening, or wherever you do listen. Don't forget to write a review. And when you do that, it helps us move up the different managements, billboards for all these different podcasts that are out here. I think there's something special here. We reveal from leaders who are obviously more emotionally intelligent than most out there, but also how they aren't perfect, and they come through these journeys, and how they come out of it. The solutions are really inspiring. So hopefully you loved it. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Jahan. You've just been great. I mean, oh my gosh, what an amazing surprise for me. I love it.
Thank you so much. And this was enlightening for me, and I've already learned so much. So thank you for having me here.
And thanks everybody for listening to the Leadership with Heart podcast. Be well.